Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation with this gentleman today. His name's Todd Nepola, and Todd is primarily in retail and industrial, but we started talking before we started recording, and we're going to have a lot to talk about and have a lot of fun today. So welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Rod. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know you're the president and founder of Current Capital, and I know your focus has been, retail and industrial, but I know that you can add value as well. By the way, I want to mention your book. He's got a book on Amazon. All the proceeds go to charity. It's called Keeping It Real on Commercial Real Estate. So I have not had the pleasure of reading it, but I absolutely will. But there you go on that. And, Todd, let's start with where we are in the market cycle, because everybody knows I'm super bearish. I really believe it's going to be uglier than people say, but I also believe there's going to be opportunity. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to be a mirror image to you. Unfortunately, I agree that it's going to get worse. I think that, the Fed chairman, Jay Powell, is telling you we're going to feel some pain, and you don't want to fight the Fed. He's telling you it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Yeah. But I also agree that when it hurts is when there's the greatest opportunities. Yeah.
So I know we were talking that you've got a shopping center do your closing at 60% loan to value, and you're at 6% interest, which is so freaking painful, because we closed on one a year ago at 3.2 as well, and we just closed on this last one at 5.4, and so the rates keep going up. But you've been around a while, like I have, and we were talking about the RTC and buying deals back then. And, I remember, I'm 62. I remember when interest rate was 18% and we did backflips when it hit 7%. So guys, just know what goes up comes back down, and vice versa. So, I don't know how you feel about this, but I see a lot of opportunity. And, some of these operators that have not gone through a downturn don't know how to asset manage, don't know how to manage their KPIs, or maybe got some onerous debt. Now, I don't know. So I'd love your thoughts on what I just said. Now, I don't know, because I've not done retail or industrial. Do they have bridge debt in that environment, or is that primarily in multifamily?
They do. They have both. And that's why I think it's great that you and I have this conversation, because we all know you're an expert at multifamily, but you're going to see a lot of similarities in what I do. It's basically the same thing. It's just a different asset class, but they're very equally aligned. And the same situation you see in residential, you'll see in what we do as well.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think there's going to be some operators in trouble with bridge debt. With or without a rate cap, even with a rate cap, a 2% bump on a multi-million-dollar asset is a big deal. So I don't know if you experienced any of that yet. I know we looked at an asset in Texas. I don't want to say where to put a spotlight on the person, but their bridge debt was coming due less than a year, and they bumped their reserves from $8,000 to $80,000 a month. And I mean, that's debilitating. Okay. And so, I think there were operators out there that weren't very conservative with operating reserves. Like we always throw money in the bank just in case what hits the what. So I don't know. I love your thoughts on this.
Again, I agree with you once again, because I see a lot of guys out there in real estate that have looked like heroes, but they've never seen a bad market. I mean, if you're probably 35 to 40 years old, other than a blip on the radar screen of 2008, you haven't experienced anything. So you're going to see a lot of these guys that are just eternal optimists. They don't know how to deal with what's coming. And I know the days are coming, like that people can't pay their rent. And, you got to start making changes. And a lot of guys did take these loans. And we're also a property management company. We do third-party management as well. And I have clients who were enticed to take loans that adjusted. And these were loans that were like 4%, 4.5% at the beginning of the year. We're talking 9%. And we're going to probably see an increase next week. And I'm going, these are not cheap loans. We're talking loans in the millions, but they wanted to be sub 3 a year ago. And it's just skyrocketing, and your entire profit is gone. And whether you have investors or not, you're not making any money.
Not only that, your debt service coverage ratio is not going to be there and have an ability to refinance. So, that's a big problem. By the way, guys, if you don't know what I mean by that, in commercial multifamily and commercial real estate, period, the bank is looking at the asset's ability to cover the debt. It's called the debt service coverage ratio. And as a simple example, and it's an annual calculation, if you've got, let's say $100,000 in net income on an asset and $100,000 in debt, it's a 1% debt service coverage ratio. And most banks, at least in the multifamily space, want to see it at least a 1.25. So you'd need, in that example, $125,000 worth of net income and $100,000 worth of debt. That'd be a 1.25. And I don't know if it's similar in your space. Is it similar as far as the debt service?
It's a little more. We're looking, it was around 130, 135. We're looking at 140 now. The banks are scared. The banks don't like uncertainty, and we have uncertainty. So they're a little concerned.
Right. Well, I mean, that's going to be an issue. And I don't know. I hope it's not as bad as some people say. You listen to Kiyosaki and you've got your prepper stuff going on and all that. But even, I did a Facebook Live on could we be heading into a depression? And I pulled a bunch of headlines, and they're sobering, man. I mean, 20 million families behind in utilities. I used to, when I lost everything in 2008 and 9, I built a litigation support company helping people save their homes that were in foreclosure. And we saved thousands of homes. But, I sold that company a few years ago, and I had lunch with the guy that bought it. And he said, it's like a freaking tidal wave coming to foreclosures. I mean, they had that. Not only did they do the moratorium on evictions, but they did a moratorium on foreclosures. And of course, those take time to ramp back up, but they're hitting now. I mean, he's overwhelmed with the number that's coming. So, I think we're going to, and I don't, not to get political, but I actually believe after these midterms that we're going to be finished with pretty soon. I think the news is going to start getting really ugly because, I don't know if you feel the same way I do, but I think there's a pretty big political influence on most of the mainstream media. And if that political situation shifts as it's expected to, I think they're going to say things are really ugly when, the public's perception is the public's reality. And so I don't know, you have a thought on that or?
I think you're spot on, but before we scare anybody, I want to say, like you said, in 2008 and 09, a lot of investors lost everything. And that's when my management company exploded in growth because that's when people who own properties were coming to me saying, how come you're full? How do I get a tenant? How come this tenant doesn't pay the rent? We've been so spoiled for the last couple of years, especially with PPP money. Tenants were excited to pay rent.
Right.
And leasing agents weren't making a lot of money because there was no turnover. Right. You're going to see that game go, and you're going to see real opportunities. And you know what? Right. Like I said, we're a little older. Hopefully, probably not a lot of your listeners are because then you got a very young audience. But these guys are going to be the up and comers, and they're going to really grab this opportunity. And there's some great opportunities coming. There's some.
It's coming. Everything's going on sale, guys. Everything's going on sale, and if you've got to pick your vehicle. Okay. And maybe you want to do retail or industrial, then Todd would be a guy to talk to. If you're going to do multifamily, for God's sakes, get your butt to my next boot camp. The next one, I think January 21st and 22nd. So, but pick a vehicle and get up to speed on it immediately. Whatever the asset class is, or if you're going to buy businesses or do, trading, whatever it is, become an expert as fast as possible so you can capitalize on what's coming. Because if you try to learn this, a year from now, you're going to miss the wave. You're going to miss the potential opportunity. And, I've been screaming this from the rooftops for the last few months that I agree with you. I think there's incredible opportunity coming. In 2008, 9, I was hiding under a rock, or 2009 and 10, really. I was hiding under a rock and, licking my wounds, but not this time. I got crushed by that wave. I'm surfing this wave.
You said something so important. I hope all your listeners listen to this really carefully. You said, get to your boot camp. And let me tell you, when I was starting out in this business, there was no podcast. So you wanted to learn this business, you had to read books, you had to buy audio tapes. And what I would do is I would go to seminars where people would talk about, flipping houses, whatever it could be, just to learn anything I can. There is nothing better. That's why it's such a gift. People don't realize to have a guy like you put your time into this and make a podcast. They got to go to boot camps. If they could get to yours, great. I don't have one. I don't do it. But I think it's remarkable when guys at your level give back, because the truth is the money you make is peanuts.
No,
it's the gift of seeing 20, 30 young guys go out there, or girls go out there and learn from all your hard knocks, because what you could teach them, they don't understand how valuable that is. 20, 30 years of experience, it's priceless, but they got to be going to these things.
Well, I just came off of a virtual one, and we sold, I think, 700 tickets. We they didn't all show up, but a lot of them did. And my boot camp's at whopping $97, okay, for 2 days of training, and I don't sell anything there. So it's kind of hey, I mean, there's no excuse, okay? If you really want to learn this business, get your butt there. You can do it freaking at your laptop and your underwear, at home. So there's no excuse. But like you said, and I said, there is incredible opportunity coming. And, so let me ask you this, I like to dig deep a little bit on what drives people and, what your drivers are and why, you've, achieved such significant success. Now, you didn't have mentors or boot camps and stuff when you started. Neither did I, honestly. And I've made every freaking mistake you can possibly make. In fact, I have this T-shirt that a student got me that says #ask me how I know, because I always at my boot camps are like, don't do that. Ask me how I know. So they got me a T-shirt. Now we actually have a bunch of them. We give them away for free. But what would you say to, actually, back to my question, what's the driver? What gets you to jump out of bed in the morning and go attack this?
I bought my first property 25 years ago. I think I was telling you earlier, it was after the RTC collapsed. And I bought a 13,000 square foot warehouse, and it was probably 60% vacant. And when I was buying it, I paid $575,000 for it and had to come up with 50% of the money. And I begged, borrowed, and didn't steal, but begged everybody for money to get the deal done. And when I went to the closing, I was 25 years old. And even the lawyer doing the closing told me I'm insane to buy this. Friends were telling me, how are you putting all the money you saved at risk? How are you going into debt? And it became such a driving force almost to prove them wrong that it worked. And I bought it in June of 98. And by December of 98, I refinanced it for $600,000. It was full. It appraised for $800,000. I got all my money back. I paid back the people that I borrowed money. I put it by myself, but I borrowed money from my parents, everybody. And I was making $5,000 a month in free cash flow. Plus I was paying off this $800,000 note. And I would go to work. And again, I was 25. This was 1998. And I said, holy crap, I don't even spend $5,000 a month. And from that moment on, it became an obsession. So to the point that I have over 1 million square feet of retail and industrial space now that I own, and we manage another 1.5 million on top of that. But I just love it. And it is almost like playing Monopoly. So people say, well, you must have cars and boats and houses. I don't look at the real estate as a means to an end to go get a car. To me, the real estate is the end, because every time a property does well, I could go buy more and renovate more and redevelop more. And you know what? It's going to be the best thing for my kids. But to me, the enjoyment is buying more properties, and it drives me every day to get out of bed.
No kidding. Oh, I love it. When you love what you do, work is play. And guys, I tell people at my boot camps, you can learn to love anything. You can associate pleasure with something and learn to love exercise, even if you're, overweight and you don't like exercise. You can learn to love anything. But I tell them, if you can't learn to love this, for God's sakes, go do something else. Life is too freaking short, and there's got to be something you'd love doing. Because when you love it, you're strong at it, and you're passionate about it, and that passion is required to influence people. And so, you really need to do what you love. And the beautiful thing about commercial real estate is it's a team sport, number one. And number two is, the lots of hats you can wear. Now, you can be the person that finds the deals, does the broker relationships. You can be the one that raises the money, does the investor relationships. Sometimes you can do both of those. You could be the analytical one that loves the spreadsheets. Or you could be the one that's process driven or construction experience or project management experience that does the asset management. So there's just a lot of places you can hang your hat and make money. I'm real proud of something. My students, I've been teaching less than 5 years. My students own upwards of 100,000 doors that we know of. And most of them were done between warriors. Those are my students, my coaching students, and done between warriors. And I'm super proud of that. But what suggestions would you have? And I guess you've already said that. Well, let me ask you this, and see if you can answer this question with something that would add value even in the multifamily space. Starting out in your career or at any moment in your career, did you have any epiphanies, any aha moments? You shared one with the 5,000 a month. I think that was probably an epiphany for you. Anything else come to mind?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I learned a long time ago is that you could have the greatest job. You could be the CEO of whatever company you want to be. You could be the top surgeon. But I learned a very long time ago, and this goes back to before there were seminars. It was even Tony Robbins who taught this to me. And he said, if you have to go to work for your money, you will never be rich. And that was one of the reasons I said, But if I own real estate, I could be sitting on the beach. I'm still going to collect rent. And you start to realize that it gives you financial independence. And you're right. There's a lot of hats you could wear. You don't have to buy your own deal. For God's sakes, you can invest in other people's deal. You can partner with people. You can do a lot of different things. But it's a lot better to own real estate than a conversation I had today with some. I think Amazon reports earnings after the bell. And I said, Amazon could be up 20% or down 20% today, and it'll be okay. Nobody seems to care. I'm like, if my real estate could swing 40% a day, I'd have a heart attack. So I can't live like that. So I said, it gives you certainty and it gives you financial independence, and you could do it from anywhere in the world. That was really the epiphanies that drove me to really invest.
That's a good answer, because that certainty is a big component. I mean, I got to tell you, if you're listening and you got money in the stock market, I mean, you are walking a freaking tightrope as far as I'm concerned, or frankly, walking towards the edge of a cliff, in my opinion. Tell me, you've had to have had some mentorship and some people you looked up to. It's along the way here. What do you think some of the best advice you've ever gotten, Todd?
When you say mentorship, is great because guys like you who've been doing this a long time. I was lucky a few years back. I go to real estate conferences. The one I go to is called the International Council of Shopping
ICSC.
ICSC. And I had the privilege of meeting a guy named Gary Rappaport from Rappaport Real Estate Group out of Virginia. And this is a guy who's been doing this for 35, 40 years. I think Gary's in his 70s. I know he's in his 70s. And he has $5 billion worth of real estate. And he buys like a deal a year. And he gave a whole speech about how you could invest in real estate, what you could do. And I was mesmerized by this guy and as he talked. And when I went up to him, I said, what's the likelihood this guy will talk to me? But let me give it a shot. I went up to him and talked to him. And I said, you do everything I wish to do. And he said, so come to my office. And I said, if I get on a plane, I'll come do it. So I flew from Miami to Virginia. And this man took me to his office, 200 employees, 2-story office building, took me to lunch. And he spent 6, 7, 8 hours with me. And I said, people who have this, like they're very successful, they want to give back. And that's one thing a lot of new investors don't realize. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Now, be careful. The advice is coming from guys trying to sell you something. But Gary didn't want anything. And this guy's been my mentor for years. And the best advice he taught me was when you said that question is, don't be afraid to ask for help. He said, call me anytime, email me anytime. And I've been doing it for many years. And it's incredible that this guy was $5 billion of real estate that he owns will take my call anytime. And I'm not the only person he does that for.
That's pretty extraordinary. That's pretty extraordinary. I absolutely love that. One question I love to ask successful people like yourself, you could go back and tell 18-year-old Todd something about what you know now. Is there anything you would do differently or more aggressively or not do or whatever? How would you answer that question?
What I would definitely do if I could go back in time, I would definitely have been more aggressive in buying real estate. I talked myself out of so many deals that I look back in hindsight and say, how did I not buy that? Not just because the market got better, because I talked myself out for stupid reasons. And of course, time makes real estate go up. And now I look back on, I really didn't dream big enough. I'm doing much bigger deals now, but I should have been doing these deals 10 years ago. So
let me ask you this. Is your model buy and refinance, or do you buy and sell as well? Me, I hate selling. I had a billionaire on the show, my first interview, a guy named Albert Barris, and he said something that really resonated with me. He said, I'm a real estate buyer, not a seller. And I just wonder what your framework on that is.
I am the exact same way. I never sell. And when I ask people, ask me like, well, what's your time span for real estate? I said, for the rest of my life. And I don't sell. In that first property I bought in 1998, I still own it. And it kills me to sell. I have made some sales. I had some things which is too good to be true. So I had to, some properties, problems, but strategically when I go in, my time frame is forever.
Yeah. Agree completely. So let me ask you this. How do you define success? What's your definition of success?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll keep it related obviously to this, but success is a lot of things, but since we're speaking about real estate, the fact that you can wake up in the morning and love what you do and you can give back, that's the greatest thing. I've been pretty lucky down here in South Florida. I'm very well known. I'm not trying to brag, but I've made a lot of money. I run a big company, but really that means nothing compared to the ability to give back, which is why I want to do podcasts, which is why I reached out to you, which is why I wrote a book, which is why I have interns. But when you can help other people, man, it feels so damn good because you're changing the trajectory of their life. So
Yeah.
that to me is what success is really about, helping somebody else.
I couldn't agree more, buddy. We're very aligned in that regard. In fact, you can show behind you here, there's some of the hundreds of thank you cards from students over the years. The whole green screens covers them. But, that's my greatest gift in the world. I mean, I literally get love every single day from somebody or another in some form, a gift, a letter, a DM, an email, thanking me for inspiring them to go take action. So let me ask you this question. I assume you're a reader. I see books behind you on the bookshelf. What is the book that you've gifted the most to aspiring and, or young or anybody? What's the book you've gifted the most, or a book you would recommend, or be more than one, but that you would suggest people read that have helped you?
Well, you really hit a good one there, because I'm more than just a reader. I'm obsessed. I mean, last year I read like 60 books, and I'm good for over a book a week. I love reading, and I preach that all the time. Wow. And I was telling people, one of the greatest books I like to give young people is a book called The Third Door. And The Third Door is a story about a young kid who was 18, 19 years old and thought nothing was available. And his point was, has nothing to do with real estate, how there's always a way, there's always one more door that's going to get you access. And this kid, who was at the time 19, 20, by the time he got to this level, he was sitting in meetings in Bill Gates' living room. He was hanging out with Elon Musk. He didn't make a fortune off it, but he said, it's available if you just keep checking one more door. And I find a lot of young people are told no so many times. The first no, they back down. For sure, by the third or fourth, they back down. But you as a salesperson know you got to keep trying. So that's one of the greatest.
That is a great suggestion. I'm sorry, I just want to stop you for 1 second. That is such a great suggestion, because you're right. There's nothing you can't do. I usually say, if you put the energy in and you don't give up. I love that. I'm going to grab that book, and I may gift it to my students.
It's fantastic.
Okay. What else? You were moving.
One of the books that I got in, and I know a lot of people have different opinions about people, but I truly loved, and I tell everybody to read Robert Kiyosaki's books on cash flow and real estate. It's very basic, and the thing is, it's very easy to understand. So I tell everybody to read it. And then, of course, my book now.
Yeah, of course, your book. Right, exactly. Again, his book is Keeping It Real on Commercial Real Estate. I'm looking forward to reading it myself. So, what are some of the lessons that you've learned? And maybe, I call them seminars. I don't call them failures. I've built 27 businesses, several worth tens of millions of dollars, most spectacular flaming seminars. But what are some seminars you've had or lessons you've gotten over the years that you think might add value to my listeners?
There's a lot of lessons that would go no matter which form of real estate you did. It could be an office building, which I don't do, or multifamily. The lessons are to deal with problems right away. Yeah. And if there's a problem, don't be afraid to pick up the phone. If you're going to have a partner in a deal, that phone may weigh 10,000 pounds, but pick up the damn phone. People need bad news. And this is even when it comes to a problem with tenants. If you know a tenant's starting to become a problem, it's not going to cure itself. Deal with it right away. Don't let it linger. You got a problem with code enforcement, meet the code enforcement officer there before he really starts to hate your property. So deal with things very quickly. Don't be passive. There's nothing wrong with being very aggressive. This is your money and your family's legacy, so you better be on top of things quickly.
That's really good advice. So let me ask you this. Do you have any morning rituals, or do you set aside any specific times to think about your vision, think about where you're headed, think about life in general? Do you have any routines or anything like that come to mind?
I'm not one of these guys who meditates every morning, but I do read almost every single morning. Certainly almost every day I read. And not that there's anything wrong with reading novels. I believe that I put a lot of input into me. All the books I read are the psychology books, sales books, real estate books. And I still continue to read books. I just read one the other day about a guy who's new to real estate. He's been doing it 7 years. Financially, I'm leaps and bounds ahead of him, but I was curious to see what he had to say. So I keep immersing myself in that kind of stuff. I keep listening to podcasts. So as long as you're constantly learning, I think it's always a great way to go. Nice. So that's the ritual that gets me going.
What do you think is the skill set or superpower that you have, that you embody, that has helped you the most?
I am a total eternal optimist. I believe there's always a way to get something done. I'm not stupid, but I'm not afraid to take a risk. And I see a lot of people, and I have clients who do this too, who have enormous bank accounts, and they talk themselves out of things. I'm always trying to talk myself into it. So they'll tell me why they can't. I'll try and tell them why they can't. And I've always been like that my whole life, just like writing a book. I said, it's got to be easy. Well, it wasn't easy. It took me over a year to do it. But once I got in, I was not going to stop.
Right.
There's always a reason you can get it done if you have your why. And you got to just keep going after it.
What's your why? What's your why?
My why is self-satisfaction. It's internal for me that I have to wake up every day and feel satisfied. I know when I'm screwing off and I'm not working hard. I know when I'm sitting in my office and I'm being lazy, and that's not always acceptable. Sometimes you want to screw up. Sometimes you want to get on a plane and go on vacation, but I got to believe that every day I'm pushing myself. And like, even off for business, you got to have other stuff. I love to work out. In fact, I'm an Ironman triathlete, and I haven't run a marathon or a half marathon in ages. I said, you know what? I'm going to do the half marathon in Miami in February. I got 3 months to train, and I discipline myself. I'm already losing weight. I'm picking up my miles. And you know what? I'm saying I will break a 1:45 marathon, which will put me in the top 10%. And it's an obsession just to keep winning and doing well, because success, it breeds in all areas. You can't be good in only one thing. So you got to go across the board.
Energy is such a critical piece. In fact, I've got 260 or more students coming on Friday and Saturday to an event here in Sarasota that I'm teaching. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is the importance of energy. If you've got a core job, in their case, they might have a job, a W-2 or a business, and then they're doing this side hustle of multifamily. They might have family, kids. Energy is critical, and energy comes from what? Health, right? So, I exercise a lot. I already exercised once today, and I'm going to do it again later. But let me ask you this: do you have any favorite quotes? Any favorite quotes that I'm a big quote person. If not, it's cool. But
I don't have one off the top of my head.
Okay, no worries.
But I do love quotes. I've read tons of books on quotes, so nothing really off the top of my head. But
no worries.
If I had to pick just one, since we're in a real estate, I would say, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. And I love that because it's so unattractive sometimes when you go in, all these risks you got to take and how much money you'll make in the beginning and balancing out all the leases. But if you have time, that duration of time, you're going to say, wow. And I don't know anybody who's owned real estate for more than 5 or 10 years who won't agree. I don't know anybody.
Right. So what are you doing right now to get ready for the opportunity that's coming? Are you getting into some cash? Are you conserving cash? What are you, what sorts of things are you doing to get ready for what's coming?
Right. Well, in our properties that we manage, the ones we own and third-party management, we're being much more tough on the tenants to make sure we're collecting rents. No one can have trailing balances. We know that they're going to have a little harder time in the future. I am still buying properties. I am still going. I don't buy properties that are only interest rate sensitive. The deal has to stand on its own. If a deal only made sense because the interest rate was low, you're going to be in trouble. So that doesn't affect me. And since nobody really knows what's going to happen next year, we really don't know. We anticipate what can. You just got to keep rolling. You got to be smart and know what's happening, and you got to be very alert. But you got to keep rolling. You can't say, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait this out and see what happens in a year, because you'll miss everything. Yeah. So I play it day by day.
Yeah. What's your market? Are you in Southwest Florida or Southeast Florida, or are you all over?
We're all over, only Florida, but we go all up to Florida, up to Melbourne, which is across from Orlando, and we manage a lot of properties up there. We have nothing on the West Coast. It's all on the East Coast.
Interesting.
And we pretty much start in Miami, Broward County, and go up. And Broward would be our core, Broward County.
That's a tough market. That's impressive. That's a tough market. There's a lot of hitters down there, a lot of money, a lot of very, very experienced operators. For you to succeed in that market is very impressive. And I'm definitely looking forward to coming to Miami with my bride, and we'll need to connect and have a meal or something, because I've really
I'd love that.
I really enjoyed our conversation. But
I just want to add one thing. Can I just add one thing? Something you just said. You just said, like, it's a tough market. But one thing I also want to tell you, your listeners, is the reason I get a lot of deals that are off market too is because brokers know I'm not full of it. And if I say I'm going to do a deal, I'm going to get it done. Don't go up and waste brokers' time. If they know you're the real deal, if you can't do a deal, tell them up front. But if you say you're going to do a deal, you burn brokers, you're done. You got to treat these guys good. You got to treat them really good. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's
that's critically important. That's critically important. And and this is a small world we live in. I've been to ICSC a couple of times. I was toying around with retail, and I went and I really enjoyed it. And I know quite a bit about the business. I don't know anything about industrial, but I know quite a bit about retail. But, It is a small world. You think everybody knows everybody, and you screw some people around, you screw some brokers around, you don't deliver, you don't close, and you're going to have a problem getting deals. And so
every deal I did this year was off market that brokers bought me because they knew that I could close, and they know that I don't try and retrade the deals. Your reputation is everything. Be honest with the brokers and you'll be okay. You don't have to do the deal. You just got to be honest with them. They're on your team.
And be responsive. You know, you could, don't be a black hole. When they send you a deal, let them know why it didn't work. Don't just ignore it. But very good advice. Now you're a broker as well. So you have
I am a broker. We don't actually broker deals. I have a broker because we lease and manage properties third party. So we have to, we really don't broker. We don't really do any sales here. So but in order for us to lease and manage other people's, we have to be licensed.
Tell me about your team. What do you have a partner? Do you just employees? Tell me about that.
Well, I have a life partner, my wife, so she's my real boss.
Right. Same here.
Current Capital, we started about 20 plus years ago, and it was just me. And a lot of people laughed at that too when I started the business, but I realized there was a market here that people would want to learn and have me manage their properties. And I went from 1 employee to 2 employees, and now we have 25 employees here, and we do all the leasing and management of the properties. Like I said, we don't really broker deals, but we collect the rents, we deal with code enforcement, and not only do we do my properties, we do others, which is a great availability because then I also make leasing fees and management fees, and that's what keeps the lights on here. And we have economies of scale because now I have nearly 2 million square feet of properties that aren't mine, but tons of tenants that have synergies with my other properties, so I can move them around, and it gives us a great footprint down here.
Well, and because you've got that sort of scale, you're able to have some combined purchasing power and certainly some influence with vendors and contractors and so on and so forth. So that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
But well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a hoot, and like I said, I'm very serious. I definitely want to get together the next time I'm down. You're in Miami, or where are you?
I'm in Miami, North Miami area. It's
North
actually
Miami.
Sunny Isles.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sunny. Love it. Yeah. No, we go to South Beach all the time and just to hang out and relax. So, but listen, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some wisdom, and I'm sure we'll talk again very soon.
Thank you, Rod. I appreciate being here. Have a great one.
Take care.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our Warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our Warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.